What you see behind me is exactly what they want. This is one of the places they're going. Number one is they're unaliving a very large percentage of the population, the elderly, those with underlying health issues. But this, what is this? Why, it's an empty poultry cage where just 2 months ago, I had my own little backyard flock of daily egg producing quails. Oh, and it's not just me that thinks this. One of the first comments I read on the channel here at Homesteading Off the Grid this morning, the most awesome homesteading channel on the planet that has nothing to do with homesteading, usually, comes from one of our followers, Brian Seacon, commented on a recent video. They're using the hachu crap to get us set to where no one can have chickens, ducks, turkeys, etc. Part of that, etc., of course, being quails. So we can't provide our own food. It all makes sense, Brian writes. I read that and I thought, yeah, I know. Everybody knows that. But most folks were not far enough into this thing yet, what I'm calling the actual next pandemic that is here. They just haven't come out and announced it officially because they don't want everybody to panic. I just inhaled a strand of my hair. Excuse me for that. But today, my beautiful bride, Dearly, a.k.a. Giggly Girl, went out with some of her friends. They went out to lunch and did a bit of shopping, and they stopped by Costco. And one of the things on my wife's list to get was eggs, since we no longer have our own egg producers out back here. So she went into Costco in Charlottesville, Virginia. We don't live in Charlottesville. We live close. We live out in the country, as you can see. We live out in the woods. Yeah. Trying to be self-sufficient to the best that we can. Seems like certain entities, certain affiliations are constantly trying to get in the way of that. But anyway, guess what? Already in Charlottesville, Virginia, there's no eggs at Costco. So my wife and her friends, they all had to go to a different grocery store where there was a limited supply. And articles we've been seeing lately are already talking about how most chains are rationing out the sale of eggs, which are now close to $12 per dozen on average nationwide. But it gets worse. You see, there's a lot of collateral damage going on while they're making sure that this strain deviates and doesn't just infect the birds. It's also been leaping. Okay, it's been leaping to cows. It's been leaping to seals in Argentina. And now it's killing every post-middle age, lonely single woman's best friend, our house cats. Yes. This comes from the Associated Press, written by Jonelle Alicia. Full credit. This is copywritten material, full credit going to that individual who created it, okay? Not one, but 2 cats that belong to Michigan dairy workers died after being infected with hachu. Again, code word. I'm kind of surprised they haven't shut me down yet. You watch 30, 60, 90 days out from right now, everybody's going to be talking about this, and they're going to be censoring the crap out of everything everybody's saying. Yeah, and you're going to remember that crazy long-haired freak with the Homesteading channel that has nothing to do with homesteading was talking about it long before everybody else was, okay? But it's still, look, this is crazy. It says, but it's still not clear how the animals, the cats, got sick or whether they spread the virus to people in the household, a new study shows. Well, they don't want you to see the obvious. They got it from the cows, they got it from the birds, they got it from the fog and the smog and the sprays and the drones and whatever in the heck else is going on. It's a chain reaction, folks. The article continues. Veterinary experts said the report published Thursday by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention lacks detail that could confirm whether people can spread the virus to domestic cats or vice versa. Folks, we've been getting reports out of the University of Wisconsin for months now that they know the strain can jump from birds to mammals. That's how 1,800 seals were unalived back in 2023 from a strain that jumped from a long migrating flock of birds that made it just far enough to pass it on to another flock of birds that passed it on to the seals. But everybody's still acting like we're in the dark, playing dumb. Oh no. Why? Because being forewarned is being forearmed, and that's not what they want us to be. Continuing, and this is a quote from a doctor from Cornell University. I don't think there is any way of concluding that there was human to cat transmission based on the data that is presented. Cats in 2 separate households died in May after developing severe illnesses that were confirmed as the type A H5N1 Hachu found in the U.S. dairy herds, investigators reported. Both were indoor-only cats that had no exposure to infected cattle or birds and didn't consume raw milk. What more data do you need? They were indoor cats, so they weren't out going up there rubbing their little scent glands up against the cow's feet, letting the world know that that cow is their property. That's why cats do that. Okay? They had no exposure to infected cattle or birds and didn't consume raw milk. Well, then how'd they get it? Somebody brought it in to them. Probably their human who happens to work on a cattle farm or dairy farm. Continuing, one cat that had died belonged to a worker on a dairy farm. Right here it is, folks. Again, what further data do you need? In a county known to have Hachu infected cattle. The worker reported symptoms of illness before the cat got sick. The cat fell ill, tested positive for H5N1, and had to be euthanized. A second cat in that household also got sick, but it recovered. A third cat in the household didn't get sick and tested negative. I would be curious as to the ages and health levels of each cat. I'd be willing to go out on a limb and bet that the cat that perished was older and perhaps had some other health issues. The cat that recovered probably was pretty healthy and not that old, and the one that wasn't infected at all was probably in its prime of life. Folks, we and our pets and our backyard flocks are being tested like guinea pigs. Meanwhile, the article continues, an adolescent in the household got sick but tested negative for the flu. The other cat that died lived in a different household. That pet belonged to a dairy worker who transported raw milk and reported frequent splashes of milk on the face, eyes, and clothing. That worker reported eye irritation, a possible symptom of Hachu, 2 days before the cat got sick. The cat was known to roll in the worker's dirty clothing and died within a day of developing signs of infection, the study authors wrote. Another cat in that household tested negative for the virus. Again, if you were to compare and contrast those two cats, what would it look like? Was one old and unhealthy and the other one young and fit and healthy? In both instances, the dairy workers declined to be tested for H5N1, the study said. Well, makes you wonder why, right? Well, because we saw in the last pandemic, if you had a fever, oh, it's positive, you've got the little C. Oh, I got the sniffles. Oh, test positive, you've got the little C. Yeah. What is it? Trick me once or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. They're not going to be able to sell this one to us the same way they did the last one. And I would say it's coming, but I think it's already here. The article continues. That means it's impossible to know whether they directly transmitted the virus to their cats, said Dr. Heath, director of the Wisconsin Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory. It's more likely that the cats were infected by virus on the workers' clothing, boots, or hands, he said. Why and how? We know it's jumping. It's jumped from birds to mammals, and now it's apparently jumping from mammal to mammal. The article continues, and here's a quote. We know that people at this point are not shedding large amounts of virus, he said. I don't think it's because this person coughed on their cat. Yeah, the reason people aren't shedding large amounts of the virus yet is because not a large enough amount of the people have it. Oh, but wait, dear Watson, until summer of 2025. Continuing, the study concluded that reports of Hachu infections in indoor cats are rare, but, quote, such cats might pose a risk for human infection. Of course, because you know it's jumping from mammal to mammal. They're playing dumb. They're gaslighting. They are gaslighting. And that's what our government does. Just like a 50-year-old woman with borderline personality disorder. Sheesh. In the months since the cats died, there have been several reports of domestic cats becoming infected and dying after consuming unpasteurized milk or pet food contaminated with bird. Oh, almost said it. Caw, caw, hachoo. The new report underscores the need for more comprehensive testing for H5N1 in all areas, Polson said. Well, of course. So, you know, I've said this for years, how most people lack the ability to notice what's clearly going on right in front of them. Now, I know I'm hypervigilant. I have PTSD from my time in Iraq. I was a machine gunner. Part of my duty was to look around, watch everything, look for anything that was different on the route than the day before. Because, for example, over here's a bunch of firewood. We might have rolled past maybe a garbage pile or firewood's all just bunched up like this. But if it looked like this day after day after day, and then we went through and this tarp, say, had been moved back and some of these logs moved around, that was an indication that there might have been an IED placed there, and most times, more than not, that's exactly what happened. So that's one of the things you can't turn off once you come home, and so I still use it. So how does that affect me? Well, I don't know. We'll be at a tailgate party before a UVA football game, and we're hanging out having a good time, and I'm looking around, and I can tell who all is sitting in the cab of their vehicles doing lines up their nose. You notice every little, and that's a true story, folks. I mean, you just notice every little detail that most people miss. And most people miss it to the degree that all the information we needed right there, this data, the scientists say, well, there's just not enough data. Hello, the cats have it. The cats that never leave the house have it. The cats who never leave the house, who they share with their human who works on a dairy farm that's been infected, and it comes in, well, maybe they got it from rubbing around on the clothes. Oh my gosh. You know, it's like, it's gaslighting, it's mind control, and they're going back to forcing us to be completely dependent on them. And like the guy that watches the channel, Brian Seacon, says it in his comment that I started this video out with, do not be surprised if within the next 90 days to 6 months, they don't start putting limitations on either the number of birds you can have, livestock type, poultry livestock, chickens, turkeys, quails. Don't be surprised if we're not allowed to have them at all, because the concern is too great that it will transmit the virus. It's already transmitting. It's already here. It's so you can't get your eggs. Listen, folks, we need you to email us what you're seeing. We receive hundreds of emails every day on this channel, and I'm going to give you the email address here in a minute. Listen, I don't want other YouTube videos. I don't want links from media outlets. I can get all that on my own. What we need to do as a group of humans who want to make it through this one and survive is we need to be the ears and the eyes for each other out there. We all need to be hypervigilant. We all need to have that gift of being able to see who's doing lines of Coke in their cars before going up to the football game. And that's an example. I mean, don't go around looking for that, but if you start paying attention, you'll see it out there. What are you seeing that no one's not? We did a live stream last night, and one of our active followers is talking about up in Massachusetts around Plymouth. There are dead birds everywhere around ponds and lakes. They're being unallowed by the caw hachoo, and the folks aren't even being allowed to go in and bury these birds or get rid of them, and they're just being left to lay. And one woman said she went in there to try to gather some up to, I think she was going to incinerate them, and she was almost arrested. It's like they want this stuff to be there. They want it to be out there as if they want it to spread. So let us know what you're seeing, because we're not going to get the truth from the media. They're going to play dumb. You know they're slanted. They're only going to either give you the stories they want you to hear, or they're going to slant it the way they want it to be slanted because they have an agenda. I'm going to prove that to you right now. I bet the majority of you out there didn't hear about the recent shooting in one of our hometowns, Crozet, Virginia. It's French. You spell it C-R-O-Z-E-T. It's about 20 miles west of Charlottesville. We live out in the country, so we got like half a dozen communities around us that we consider our hometowns. Depends on where we're in the mood to go that day, when we need provisions or whatever, or where the kids' practice is, or where we have games. Yeah, it was a shooting. Disastrous, but Other than the local media outlets and Fox News, no one's reporting it. I did a Google search for it, and this happened Monday, 4 or 5 days ago as of this recording. And then I specifically looked to see if I could find it on CNN or MSNBC. I couldn't. Why? Because the shooting doesn't fit the narrative. The shooter was a black man who shot and killed 2 Caucasian people. One was a 42-year-old man who worked in finance, who was neighbors with a good friend of mine and who leaves behind 2 daughters and a wife. The other was a Caucasian 60-year-old nurse, retired, just recently retired, has been enjoying reading her books and taking it easy, but now she's not going to do that anymore. Here's something else they don't want you to know. But first of all, let me state this. It does not appear to have been an act based upon race hate. It just turns out the dude who they're saying was very mentally unstable. His family tried to reach out to get him help. They even contacted officials supposedly because they knew he had firearms, and they said, look, we don't think he's safe with these, but since he had never committed a crime, there was nothing they could do about it. So I'm not trying to paint the picture that it was race related, because I honestly, in my heart, don't believe it was. It just happens to be that he was black. He killed 2 white people. But here's another part of the story why you're not seeing it on CNN or MSNBC. The guy's vehicle was loaded down with loaded firearms. He went to a grocery store in a rural area the night before a major storm was to come through, because he knew everybody would be out there buying milk and bread, toilet paper, and beer. The body count would have been humongous, but it wasn't, because 20 seconds after his first shot, he was taken out. You know by who? By an off-duty federal agent who was armed with his private weapon, who heard the shots, ran around the corner of the building, and took this son of a piece of crap out before he could take out anybody else. That guy's a hero, and this is an example as to why the good guys need to have guns. But you're not hearing this story anywhere because it doesn't fit the agenda. It's not the story about a post-middle-aged Caucasian Bible-beaten Bubba from out in the country going and killing a bunch of school kids or a bunch of people of color who are not armed. So, we don't want that. This is how the mainstream media works. You've got to have been living under a rock for the last half a century if you don't know this. That's why it is urgent that we need emails from you. You need to be the eyes and the ears on the street, out in the country, out in the rural areas, the woods, wherever you are. You tell us what's going on with this hachu, because I'm telling you, we are in the depths of the next pandemic, but they don't want us to know. You're easier to control when you're not in fear. Think of the sheep they lead off to the slaughter. Help, get in line, stay in line, just follow the one in front of you till the next thing you know, that's it. You're in front, and then you're done. The email address to this channel is crazylake@mail.com. Again, I appreciate you sending links to news articles and other YouTube videos, but that's not what I need. I can get that on my own. We need what you're seeing that the media will never report so we can report it. Okay? Now, with all this said, I want to ask you a huge favor. If you caught the live last night, you know I'm trying to help my buddy Heath. He helps me coach. He's a good personal friend of mine. Our families are good friends. He's in Africa right now getting ready to hike up Mount Kilimanjaro. He's raising money to build wells for drinkable water for children over there so they can go to school. Please go to his channel and subscribe to his channel and just watch some of his content so we can help give him a boost. The name of his channel is Heath's House, and the link to his channel will be in the description box of this video below. Folks, stay vigilant. Keep your eyes on a swivel, even if you're just going to the grocery store, because this world has gotten so full of lunatics, they're uncountable. I mean, you just can't even count how many lunatics are out there now, okay? But with a gaslighting government in charge, how can anybody be surprised? It's enough to drive almost anyone crazy. Stay safe out there, folks. See you for more next time.